You look at the data of ever-increasing obesity and diabetes, and you just think, how is it possible the whole world has failed to eat healthfully? Maybe we're being told the wrong advice.
The food pyramid codified our fat phobia, telling us to make carbohydrates the foundation of our food choices. I'm Dr. Mark Hyman, a functional medicine physician with a focus on food as medicine, and I understand the healing power of food. But I can tell you, the low-fat diet did not make us healthy.
I think that a low-fat, heart-healthy diet is unproven. It was essentially a huge experiment on millions of people, and it failed miserably. Wait a minute, have you not seen? Are you not practicing medicine to see who's coming into your clinic? To see the problems that this idea has caused? I mean, it's just, to me, unbelievable.
For years, even I believed that eating fat would make me fat, and that eating saturated fat would cause heart disease and kill me. But now, a growing group of experts reveal that the science against saturated fat was never there.
I was astonished to find that there simply was no evidence.
It was just an idea, but it was launched as a policy for all Americans, based really on no evidence at all.
What is the evidence? A big, big zero.
Our federal dietary guidelines, the official government advice for how we should all eat to stay healthy, tell us to limit saturated fat to just a couple of bites a day and make carbohydrates more than half our daily calories. I'm here to tell you that advice is upside down and backwards. The idea that eating fat will make you fat is wrong, and the science that says saturated fat causes heart disease is misleading, and instead has led our nation down a dangerous path toward a widespread epidemic of obesity and type 2 diabetes.
We screwed up. Happens all the time in science. Medical orthodoxy latched on to the wrong explanation, made a tragic mistake, and now we're living with the consequences.
The nation got a report card on obesity today, and the country flunked.
The battle against obesity has been going on for years.
1 in 3 children in this country is overweight or obese.
The estimated $200 billion cost to the healthcare industry continues to rise.
The search for weight loss and health may be a little more complex than you think.
Despite all attempts to attack the problem, the adult obesity rate increased in 23 states last year.
Why is it that Americans keep getting fatter in spite of government efforts ranging from calorie posting to new school lunch programs?
A lot of things. What science is about is seeing whether things that make sense are really right or not. In this case, it sounded reasonable, but happened to be wrong.
Americans are not winning their battle against obesity.
Obesity among children doubled over the past 2 decades.
Today, 75% of the country is overweight or obese, and 1 in 2 of us is either pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetic.
Type 2 diabetes is crushing us financially, crushing us.
It currently costs a person with diabetes in America $900 a month for insulin.
Direct cost to our health care system of about $1 billion a day.
There isn't enough money in the healthcare system to be able to afford this.
The cost in terms of money is huge. The cost in terms of human suffering is like, 10 times more than that.
In the space of a single generation, we've gone from this to this.
Watching the footage of the 50th anniversary of Apollo 11, I was struck by how not fat everyone in the crowd was. We looked like a completely different race of people.
The heart attacks, the strokes, the cancer, the blindness, the amputations, all of that I think, is unnecessary suffering that we're causing people.
The question is, where did this come from and why is it occurring? When I was in medical school, type 2 diabetes happened only in older adults. Now we see it in kids as young as 3 years old. And the more we try to medicate our way out of the disease, the worse it seems to get.
You can't throw drugs at a dietary disease and expect to make it better. But that's the medical teaching. Hey, you have type 2 diabetes, let me give you some pills.
The model doesn't work. We're not making people healthy, we're just treating disease. But if you give people good nutrition, they become very healthy.
He introduced that keto diet, and 6 weeks later, it was like a miracle. No diabetes.
And it was like magic. And I got completely off of insulin.
2 years later, I had lost 197 pounds.
Problem is, we've been confused and downright brainwashed by decades of nutritional dogma, the almost religious conviction that fat is bad, especially saturated animal fats.
You can lose weight on these animal protein Atkins-type diets, but you're mortgaging your health in the process.
We still operate under this idea of dogmatic principles. We've always done it that way. That's what we've always said. We're going to continue to say it. And unfortunately, nothing is holding back progress in nutrition science like dogma.
Alternative ideas have been attacked, and physicians labeled as quacks for ignoring guidelines against fats and telling patients to cut carbs instead. In South Africa, Dr. Tim Noakes went through a 4-year ordeal that threatened his medical license for recommending a low-carbohydrate, high-fat diet to a young mother.
The reason why the low-carbohydrate diet has become demonized is because it works, and it has a huge impact on the financial return of the medical profession.
I'm an internal medicine specialist. I can treat all of the conditions that I used to treat with medications just by changing the food. It's remarkable.
It's completely free. There's no special equipment. There's no special, surgeries. It's a completely natural, and it's been used for thousands of years.
I can treat not only obesity, but I can treat type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure. In fact, I have to take away medications from people as they get better.
This is as big as the discovery of insulin or antibiotics. It clearly is.
My interpretation is that low-fat diets can work, but low-carb diets work better. And that's what the science says.
One way to think of carbs is they are like kindling on a fire. They burn quickly and then go out, dropping your blood sugar and creating severe cravings, the physical signal that your body needs more fuel. To keep your metabolism burning, you must constantly eat more, and then you crash, and then you eat more, and then you crash. See how carbs like bread, pasta, rice, and yes, even whole grains affect your blood sugar. Protein has a much lower response. It will raise blood sugar a small amount, and fat, take a look at fat, almost no rise in blood sugar at all. When you eat fat, it's like putting logs on the fire. What you get is just a long, steady source of fuel.
And that's one of the reasons that I like low-carb diets so much, because they don't require as much willpower. Because if your hormones, your insulin isn't going up to the sky every time that you eat, and then crashing down, making you crave a bagel or a donut or something from the snack, if that's not happening in your physiology all the time, it's much easier to not overeat.
So how is it possible that we got the story so wrong about fats? There were religious objections to eating meat as early as the 1800s that influenced American opinions, but a major turning point was in 1955 when a presidential health scare shocked the nation.
News of President Eisenhower's sudden illness, described by his doctors as coronary thrombosis, came as a severe shock to us all.
President Eisenhower in 1955 had a heart attack. He was out of the Oval Office for 10 whole days, and that really focused the attention of the nation on this problem of heart disease.
Cardiovascular ailments continue to take an increasingly heavy toll of American lives, 1 million this year.
The nation was really in shock, and there was a desperate need for explanations.
And people were like, whoa, what's causing all the heart disease?
Here are vital statistics.
They show that this problem here in America is the worst in the world.
There were a number of ideas about it. One was that it was vitamin deficiency. Another was that it was the rising tide of auto exhaust, more cars on the road.
Of 10 men, we can expect 5 to get it. But we can't say who, or when, or why.
Now you can look back now and say, well, that's pretty easy to understand. Everybody was smoking.
Raleigh? Oh, no thanks. I have a pack.
More doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette.
In the 1950s and 60s, cigarettes were in.
Spud cigarettes are cooler than cool. Smoke Spud cigarettes, that's the mild, happy rule.
Here, have a Viceroy.
Eisenhower himself smoked 4 packs a day.
What do you think? This is what I was really looking for.
If you look at the trends for cigarette smoking against the increases in heart disease, they track together. But at the same time, the consumption of saturated fat was falling dramatically.
Everybody was smoking. Now we know smoking causes heart disease or contributes to heart disease. But at the time, of course, the tobacco companies were like, no. Tobacco smoking, it doesn't cause heart disease. So all the scientists were like, hey, I wonder why we're getting so much heart disease.
There's one theory that was proposed by Ansel Benjamin Keyes, who is a pathologist at the University of Minnesota, and he said that it was saturated fat and dietary cholesterol that caused heart disease.
It's like, okay, but how do people eat butter for the last sort of 2 millennia? And ever since 1970, it causes heart disease. It's like it didn't cause heart disease before.
At the same time, consumption of sugar, refined oils, and refined grains were on the rise in America, but Ansel Keyes focused on fat as the cause of heart disease.
And he thought that total cholesterol in your arteries would build up and clog your arteries and give you a heart attack, like hot oil down a cold stovepipe. So that was his idea. It was just a simple idea.
You know, to blame a sort of ancient food for a modern disease was completely illogical. It didn't make any sense, but you repeat things enough and you get it out there enough, people believe you.
As American author H.L. Mencken once said, for every complex problem, there is a solution that is simple and clear and wrong.